There we go. All right, so welcome. My name is Sasha Stone, and this is my first live coaching session for anybody that wants to join. So today's topic is all about feeling responsible for other people's feelings, and basically learning the difference between feeling responsible for someone else's feelings versus caring for someone else's feelings, and why it's so crucial to understand that distinction in your life. So I felt inspired to speak on this topic because it's been coming up a lot in my sessions with my clients. And it's also something that I've worked on a lot in my own life, and understanding this difference has been invaluable. So I really wanted to take some time to convey this message because I feel like it's going to be valuable for so many people. So if you are a generally empathetic person, then you probably tend to really feel a lot. And that might include feeling how other people feel, which is a great thing because that means you're going to be really easy to relate to. You're going to be somebody that other people like to confide in and lean on for support. And chances are that role is going to be very natural to you. It becomes problematic when you start actually feeling responsible for those feelings that you're sensing from others, or you start anticipating how someone might feel and adjusting your behavior or adjusting your communication accordingly in a way that's detrimental to you and that is not honest or authentic, but is purely to please that person or to keep them from having a certain emotional experience that you don't want to have to deal with. And what happens is you start getting into this role of managing other people's emotions, and that is exhausting. That takes a lot of work. That can be very, very draining. It can lead you to, constantly living in your head and trying to anticipate how other people are going to think or feel or react. And that's really going to hold you back from staying connected to how you think and feel, because rather than first acknowledging that, you're going to skip right ahead to, how this other person might react or feel, and what can I do to avoid that or to change that. So that's not really an ideal way to live. And what I want you to think about is what's actually happening when you're taking responsibility for somebody else's feelings. So when you try to be responsible for someone else's feelings, you're not giving them the credit of being an adult. You're putting them in this childlike role where they can't manage their own emotions. You're also not giving them the right to have their own emotional experience. So by thinking ahead of how someone might react, you're kind of attributing something to them that they haven't yet displayed for themselves. And that's not really giving them the opportunity to have their own emotional experience, which might be completely different from what you think it will be. You're also making assumptions that might be completely untrue. So sometimes, when we think we're trying to make somebody feel better or managing their emotions, it's really managing our own emotions and our own reactions, and we're just projecting those feelings onto somebody else. You might also be holding yourself back from connecting to or understanding your own truth, because rather than thinking about how you feel about something, you're thinking about how someone else feels first and completely skipping over how you feel about it. So no one is served in these scenarios. Whenever there are a lot of assumptions going on, nobody is being served because nobody's really allowed to speak their truth. So that's why I think this is so important. So it's really important to understand the bottom line is you are not responsible for anybody else's emotional reality. You are only responsible for your own emotional reality. Now, the question that comes up whenever I say something like that with one of my clients, for example, is, well, I'm a really nice person, and so I care about how people feel. And I say, great, that's a good thing. It's good to care about how people feel. So just because you accept that you are only responsible for your own emotions and not somebody else's does not make you an uncaring person. So you can still communicate with love and respect. You can still be very conscious about how you communicate with somebody. You can still pick and choose what you choose to communicate to somebody, as long as you're connected to your own truth. You can still be conscious of the environments in which you choose to communicate, creating safety for the person, knowing when to just step away from a relationship or step away from a conversation. That's taking responsibility for yourself, not for the other person. And that is caring for them. And I also want to say that sometimes being firm, very firm in your communication, is also a way of caring, because that firmness can really serve another person. If they need to hear something clearly and concisely, that is a way to serve. So not making yourself responsible for somebody else's feelings does not mean you don't care about them. I hope that makes sense. Somebody else just joined. Welcome. No, I don't know. I'm just going to turn that video off. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I posed this topic a couple of days ago, and then I got a really powerful question about it that I want to share with you because it takes it even deeper. So this is a question from one of my readers. Her name is Ingrid, and she asks, what can we do, or how do we deal with people who make us responsible for their feelings? For example, in my case, I was raised by my narcissistic mother, who always made us children responsible for how she felt and reacted to us, i.e., we had to be, do, say, act in a certain way to earn any kind of love, etc., and made us, and still does, responsible for her happiness. Otherwise, some kind of intricate and cleverly thought out punishment follows. Because of this, I have found that I have attracted partners and people into my life who do exactly the same. And I have automatically, as so well trained by my mother, held the belief that I was responsible for their feelings. Now that I am only recently becoming more and more consciously aware of this, and that we are all responsible for our own feelings, I have no idea how not to feel responsible or how to react when my mom and others make me responsible. Any advice here would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. So thank you, Ingrid, so much for this very important question and point. And I really want to acknowledge you for feeling open and vulnerable enough to share this and to share your experience, because it's really important. And I want to start out by saying that no one can make you responsible for anything. So as an adult, whatever you are responsible for is your choice. So even if somebody thinks that you are responsible for their emotions and you are the cause of this and that, or this and that is your fault, that's their experience. They are responsible for that feeling, and you get to decide whether or not you believe that's true. So that is what it means to not take responsibility for somebody else's feelings. And if someone is throwing that onto you, that's their thing. That's not yours. Now, clearly, this relationship with your mother this is what you've experienced your whole life in this particular relationship. So I'm not trying to say that this is easy to now just switch. However, this is where cultivating your own inner awareness and inner strength is so important. And the checking in and really understanding how you feel is so important. So to know that whatever is your mom's, and whatever is yours, and they are separate. And if she is putting it on you, that's hers. She can't make you responsible for anything that you're choosing to not be responsible for. If you're choosing to be responsible for her emotions, then you'll feel that way. I hope that makes sense. So really the key here is maintaining healthy emotional boundaries, and people are going to push those, and some people are going to make it feel more challenging than others, but it's always up to you whether or not you take that on. And it's also up to you to what degree you choose to engage in these relationships. And I know it's complicated when it's your own mother. However, you still have a choice in terms of how much time you spend with this person, how much you communicate with them. And when you feel that this is happening, that she's projecting onto you and she's putting her emotions onto you, you can say, I gotta go. I'll see you later. And that's a way to show, like, this is not me, this is you. And the more you can practice that, the better. And again, as long as you're standing in your integrity and you know that you have communicated to your mother in a loving, respectful, and firm way, then however she chooses to react to that is her own. So I'm going to make some recommendations on some additional tools that can help you with maintaining these boundaries. But before I go there, I want to open it up to any questions that you all might have. So, so if you have a question, you can either put it in the chat box or you can unmute your microphone and you can just ask it. So who has questions about this? Or maybe you have a personal experience or situation that you're dealing with that's related to this and you're looking for some guidance. So I'll open it up now for any questions.
I don't see the chat box.
That's fine. You're unmuted, so go for it.
I don't know my question yet. I'm cultivating it, but
okay.
I'll be back in a moment.
All right, Shayna.
Okay, I know my question.
Perfect.
When you're in a situation, because I'm very empathetic, and I'm engaging with someone and I feel what they're feeling and I don't quite know, it's like if I'm uncomfortable with that feeling, how, I guess the question is how to like disengage, get myself to not, because I kind of go into automatic mode where I try to fix it by fixing them, like the way you started off. I try to how they're, I get, I guess I get like defensive, like I get kind of like a anxiety inside, and so I try to like, I set my mind to be above it, conversation, and so I guess I don't really know how to be empathetic, like without taking on their feelings, I get lost, like myself, I automatically get overtaken by this.
I hear you. So basically, how do you, maintain that ability to understand how somebody's feeling without actually feeling it in yourself?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes.
Do you have a specific example that comes to mind? Because that's always the easiest way to work with any of these questions.
Yeah, I think sometimes people share, like I'll just use my sister.
Okay, perfect.
She gets really like controlling, like she'll call me, for example, the other day she called, I had relied on her to babysit my son so I can take care of a personal business, and she was like, in a bad mood, and she's like, I need a favor from you, without caring for how I feel, or, you know, just very abrupt. And was like, and I was like, why, what's wrong? You know, and she's like, she had to go visit her mom. And I was like, I was relying on her for something, and she automatically, you know, was questioning me and why I needed her still. And I just didn't, those sort of like abrupt dominating, like and I feel her discomfort, like I feel it in my chest. I'm like, I don't know. I got mad. And so my reactions to like defend myself and get upset, but I couldn't like put myself in her shoes to really go, why is she talking to me this way? And why can't she understand? I just automatically feel what she's feeling, and I'll get upset, or and then it like leaves me with this like feeling inside of, you know, frustration and anger. And then, you know, where I just want to be, I want to be able, I use that as an example because she's a person I engage with a lot. Really, I feel that happens with a lot of, I just want to be able to know how to like go into a situation, not totally open. So when something comes up that makes me uncomfortable, or I feel something that makes me uncomfortable, or someone says something that makes me uncomfortable, I'm centered in myself enough that it doesn't affect me. You know what I mean? I don't automatically take on there.
Yeah. So basically, when that happens, instead of trying to manage their emotions, you get into this very reactionary space, and it's like you don't want to feel it. So, okay, gotcha. So it's important. So first of all, you know, I want to say that I really acknowledge you for being aware of that, because that shows a certain level of personal responsibility, that it's like you're aware that you're being reactionary and that you don't need to be that way. And that's great. So it's important to start as quickly as possible when you feel those emotions coming up, to put yourself in an observer role, meaning you feel the emotions and you just pause for a beat and acknowledge like, whoa, this is making me mad, you know? So basically,
oh baby,
by acknowledging how you're feeling, that's a way to actually diffuse the emotion and put you in a place of the observer, so that you're not being totally reactionary to that feeling. So you can feel it and you can observe it, but you don't have to respond from that place. So that putting yourself into that observer role of your own emotions creates some distance between you and that feeling. Does that make sense? Oh, she's muted. Okay. So I'll just keep going with that. Yeah. So putting yourself in that observer role, I feel like I lost my train of thought.
Yes.
That makes sense.
I went to like a 4 screen of photos. I didn't know how to like unmute. It does make sense. And I can see when I'm wrapped up in those moments, to pause is the reminder I need.
Yeah, just for a beat, and take a deep breath. You know, that very simple tool of the breath is very important. And you can, you know, there's something really meaningful in simply saying to somebody, I hear you. You know, I hear you. I hear what you're saying.
I think what happens is I get this like insecurity around, like there's a confidence going into stuff knowing, oh, I'm empathetic and I can feel, but then the reality hits where, I can't tell someone I hear you sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Why
There's,
not?
I don't know. I think there is a defensiveness inside me because I'm afraid. I don't know. I just, I guess looking back, I get afraid to acknowledge that that's what they want to hear, like, or that that's the right thing to say.
And what are you afraid of in that moment?
Oh, that they're like, that the way that they're acting or the way that they feel is right when it doesn't feel right to me. So there's that, some, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I guess, where it's like, I don't like how you're talking, I don't like how you're feeling, and I disagree. So I can't let you know that I hear you because I don't care, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how that, like,
well, the problem is that you're stuck in this right or wrong situation, and that is always going to elicit a reactionary response, because if letting go of that completely, in terms of that one person is right and one person is wrong, is one of the most freeing things you can do for yourself. Meaning that it's impossible when there are emotions involved that there can be right or wrong, because everybody is entitled to their own emotional reaction. So even if to you it seems like your sister's actions are wrong, whatever she's feeling or experiencing is her own. And you don't necessarily know all the details and or why it's happening. And you're also not wrong, you know? So if both people can be right, if both realities can exist at the very same time, then everybody is entitled to their own feelings and to what's going on. And so there's no danger in saying, I hear what you're saying. And you can say, Shayna, I hear what you're saying. I was relying on you, so this doesn't feel good to me. But if there's nothing I can do about it, okay. You know, right. But it doesn't have to be in this like angry, accusatory way. You can still, you know, say like, oh, well, we had an agreement, you know, and just point it out.
Yeah.
We had an agreement, not as in like, oh, you're a horrible person. We had an agreement, just in like, oh, I hear you, but we had an agreement, and I'm relying on you for the next couple hours or whatever it was. Right. And to say it from more of like a neutral place and see how that's received, because of course, when it goes straight into the anger or the accusations, then that's not going to be received well from her end. And that's, you know, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. Thank you. I like that. I don't have to agree, and it's not about right or wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. Like just
feel what they're going to feel.
Yeah. And it's not even about like convincing the other person of something. It's just like, well, what was the agreement here? You know, and if you can point that out in a very neutral way, and then again, you're not responsible for how she reacts. So if then that makes her super defensive, it's like, okay, well, I guess in this situation, I need to figure something else out, you know, and she can be angry if she wants to be.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. So we are actually almost at 30 minutes, which is amazing how quickly time flies. I might have to make these a little bit longer, but I want to give you all a couple of recommendations for tools that can help you with maintaining emotional boundaries. So first, I want you to remember to always give adults the dignity of being adults by allowing them to have their own emotional experience. And one of my favorite mantras for this is, what's mine is mine, and what's yours is yours. And you can just say that silently in your mind in those moments where you feel yourself wanting to take care of somebody else's emotions. I also want to recommend a book called Boundaries, Where You End and I Begin. It's by a woman named Anne Catherine. It's a great book. It's short and sweet and powerful, and it has a lot of great perspectives around why you might be taking on a lot of somebody else's emotions. And of course, there are essential oils that you can use that can create a really beautiful energetic barrier for maintaining a strong emotional boundary. And so I wanted to talk about clove oil and read you a little bit from this really amazing book called Emotions and Essential Oils. Clove is the oil of boundaries. Clove supports individuals in letting go of victim mentality. Victims feel overly influenced by other people and outside circumstances. They perceive themselves as powerless to change their life situations. Clove helps individuals to stand up for themselves, be proactive, and feel capable of making their own decisions regardless of others' opinions or responses. I love that that's the emotional aspect of clove, because clove is a super powerful antioxidant. So it's literally a barrier to germs, to...
Okay, so I'm on now. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm muting you, though. I'm just going to put you...
Okay, you can.
Okay. Hold on. There we go. That was my very sweet auntie. So yeah, clove is great for emotional boundaries, and it's also great for protecting your immune system. So you can think of it as a general protector. And I also think it smells amazing. So I always like to make an essential oil recommendation because I find these tools to be very powerful. So we can always support ourselves on multiple layers and levels. It's very important to do the inner work around these issues, and then what kind of external support systems can we place around us that will help support us in this journey of whatever we're creating. And in this case, it's emotional boundaries. So I want to thank you all who were able to make it live today, and for anybody that is listening to this as a recording. And I will be coming here every Wednesday for the month of August and probably beyond. So I'd love your questions. The question that I was able to share today from Ingrid was so powerful. So I invite you to share your questions with me about anything that's going on in your life that you're looking for some help with, or if there is a topic that you would like me to address. And you can email me at sasha@sashamariestone.com. And just let me know your question, and we'll go from there. So thank you so much for being here, and I wish you a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.